California Vitamin Dreams. The next chapter of Renborg's odyssey remained true to course. Having lost his family as a cost of his China dream quest, he joined the latest mania back in the U.S. at the time, vitamin pills. As when he followed Jack London's path to Alaska for gold, Renborg gravitated to where countless other wealth seekers were already congregating in Southern California. Meanwhile, Renborg formally lost custody of his children in the divorce, but never saw the custody papers when they were delivered. He was already immersed in his newest venture at another address. Renborg's newfound obsession with producing and selling vitamin pills in the late 1920s to mid-1930s, especially in California, was part of an accelerating trend that attracted many believers and opportunists. Well before Renborg filled his first pills with processed alfalfa, a large industry with outrageously false medical claims was quickly forming. In 1912, a decade and a half before Renborg's exodus from China, Casimir Funk, a Polish scientist working in London, coined the term vitamines to describe the newly discovered elements of rice that were vital to preventing beriberi disease. Over the next few years, university and corporate researchers began to isolate and identify more of these hidden nutritional components and their relationship to disorders such as rickets and pellagra that had plagued the world wherever a severe food deficiency occurred. In short order, leveraged by the enormous power and authority of science, these minuscule food elements were hyper-commercialized by non-scientists as miracle discoveries that could now be extracted and made available in pill form for a price. Though scientists had shown that the abnormal absence of these nutritional elements could lead to disease, the commercial promoters distorted these discoveries into claims that adding them to a normal diet could ward off illness and even cure disease. A little more than a decade after their discovery, vitamines were already advertised in the pages of the Saturday Evening Post. The bombastic health claims and public mania sparked by these discoveries reinvigorated and vastly expanded the fragmented but well-defined earlier industry of medicine show doctors, mail-order nostrums, and other patent medicines that had operated robustly in America for several decades. The American medicine show remedies were mostly useless, if not harmful, and often based on morphine or alcohol. Many of the traveling doctors claimed their secret remedies were based on Native American wisdom or some exotic, distant, or esoteric body of knowledge unknown or even nefariously suppressed by the conventional medical community. With its supposed authority of science and supposed traditional wisdom recovered from the ancient past or far distant peoples, including China, the vitamin craze would grow vastly larger than its predecessor, the patent medicine field. One of the earliest of the vitamin pill promoters was Forrest C. Shackley, who quickly recognized the financial potential in vitamins and other herbal remedies. He sold pills containing plant materials as early as 1915 door to door. In 1931, 5 years before Renborg registered his own company, Shackley was manufacturing and selling pills filled with alfalfa plant matter in Oakland, California. Shackley was well prepared for his pioneering role in selling vitamins with unproven and misleading health claims. In his youth, he traveled with a medicine show as a, quote, strongman performer, lifting huge weights that were actually hollow. Concurrent with vitamania that began to grip the country were barely heard caveats from actual medical doctors and food scientists, warnings that vitamins in pill form were not needed by people with normal American diets. Doctors and scientists also noted there was no verifiable evidence that vitamins distilled from actual food or synthetically manufactured, then ingested as discrete, separated elements in pill form, actually improved health at all, or functioned as they did in nature within actual food. Furthermore, it was not known if ingesting hyperdoses of the distilled or manufactured vitamins caused physical harm. The newly formed American Medical Association, AMA, which previously fought alcohol and other drug-laced nostrums hawked by wily itinerant doctors and professors, now battled the far more aggressive and widely spread pseudoscientific claims of vitamins, calling them a novel form of quackery. Absence of evidence for the need for vitamins where a normal diet is available, lack of any verification of health benefits, and questionable ingredients remain the status quo of the vitamin industry to this day. But none of these conditions slowed the frenzied sales of vitamins and supplements, nor resulted in any significant regulation against the onslaught of false claims, or led to any requirements even for proof of ingredients. As marketable goods, vitamins and other food supplements operate outside normal market forces. With unverified ingredients, each product in the vitamin and supplement field can be claimed unique, thus preventing price comparisons and making tests of efficacy impossible. Testimonials from alleged users, some contrived, others merely imagined, replace evidence. Placebo effects, reported by those, quote, healed, serve as cause and effect proof and discredit the voices of all others who report no results. Extraordinary marketing claims by vitamin producers and sellers about restored health, prolonged youth, instant vitality, enhanced beauty, and, quote, proven bulwarks against diseases can command exorbitant prices charged to the truly sick, as well as far more numerous fearful and uninformed people. Over the next 4 years, while working full-time once again as an accountant for an oil company, Renberg returned to his earlier off-hours role as inventor. Now he was packaging plant nutrients processed into a supplement that supplied elixirs of health, just as Shackley and others were doing. He built a laboratory of sorts in his home kitchen, eventually focusing on alfalfa as his base nutrient. During this time, Renberg remarried. His new wife's full-time job supported his experiments and allowed him to quit his own job. In early 1936, they had a child together. Testimony to the explosive commercial value of vitamins is demonstrated in Renberg's and other early promoters' initial experiences of finding interested investors. With virtually no revenue, no scientific proof, and no relevant academic training, Renberg's newly formed California Vitamin Company was able to attract various people willing to offer some funding for a stake in the fledgling enterprise. Renberg was in booming California, concocting a product with widely promoted scientific pretensions for curing and preventing age-old diseases. Even more important, when they found buyers for their pills and potions, the price Renberg and others were able to charge showed the emerging field held electrifying profit potential. In the same year his third child was born, Renberg attracted the first of several financial backers. Their modest investments covered his basic costs, enabling him to bring to market the product he labeled Vitasol. Like all such products, its ingredients were not fully disclosed or ever tested for any health benefits or potential harmfulness. Renberg had no evidence that the product provided any practical health value at all. Yet, quote, Renberg was wildly excited and sure it would eventually be $1 million business. The exact price for Vitasol is not reported, except that it was equivalent to a half-day's wages. Renborg soon added Vitafil to the product line, converted Vitasol from liquid to pill form, and then developed a new skin cream. Yet with all the growing products, sales languished and debts rose. He was forced to move his family into a small room behind his laboratory. Eventually, a more promising investor, R. Templeton Smith, arrived. Smith bought out the interest of Renborg's other small investors, who were mostly friends and sympathizers, but then withdrew in just a few months. Renborg's bank account balance dropped to less than $10. Then another investor appeared, this time a local woman described as, quote, strong-willed and gruff, who wore slacks and was rather mannish. Leela Calcote was a widow with a small real estate empire. The biography reports her primary interest in Renborg's vitamins was, quote, whether there was any connection between vitamin and mineral rations and sexual desire. The pair formed a separate, jointly owned company dedicated to sales and marketing. They attracted a small cadre of salespeople, and Renborg's new identity, along with more aggressive product claims, began to emerge. In a local newspaper story, the contents of Renborg's concoctions were revealed only as, quote, fruits and many types of green materials such as alfalfa and unclassified factors such as auxins, chlorophyll, and others. The process of transforming the products into remedies was, quote, a trade secret. Renborg was quoted as claiming his products would alleviate, quote, anything that isn't an infection. Renborg told the reporter that his laboratory, where he processed the nutrients to concentrate their curative powers, functioned, quote, just like a human stomach. Simultaneously, in 1938, the U.S. Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act passed, prohibiting false or misleading statements about products related to health and nutrition. Then, in a seeming replay of when Renborg's first wife left him and took the children, his current wife of 6 years, who supported him financially and manually, also abruptly left with their 2-year-old son. Renborg responded like he had before, by doubling down in his work. He began delivering talks to local groups and now portrayed his time in China when he counted oil barrels, promoted evaporated milk, and sold toothpaste as a period of, quote, active research on the, quote, relations of vitamins and minerals to health, happiness, and beauty. The new claim that Renborg had been in China primarily to conduct nutrition research tapped, the biography notes, into a, quote, growing fascination and sympathy with things Chinese in American popular culture, including movie characters Dr. Fu Manchu and Charlie Chan. These fictional characters added, quote, adventure and intrigue to Renborg's somewhat fictionalized biography and presentations. Along with this newly constructed history, Renborg's credentials were also upgraded. In one newspaper of a Renborg presentation, he was identified as a recognized authority, without naming who did the recognizing. Despite the embellished credentials, romanticized backstory, and pop culture interest in all things Chinese, sales did not grow significantly. Products from Renborg's laboratory, however, continued to adapt. In the shadow of new federal oversight, Renborg began including synthetic vitamin material into his, quote, natural concoctions. To broaden the customer base, he introduced children's candy infused with synthetic vitamin materials at $13 a jar in today's currency. He offered products said to be valued according to, quote, potency. They were classified as maintenance, standard, high B, and special, and priced respectively from about $40 to more than $200 for a month's supply in today's dollars. Meanwhile, Renborg searched for a sales manager. His business was still not sustainable, and his production remained primitive. In 1939, the operation was described in the biography as, quote, a shell with no contents, no assets, and no liabilities. Equipment consisted of 2 picnic tables with attached benches and a big milk can of about 10 or 20 gallons, a galvanized milk can, and a steel slab about a foot long or maybe a little longer and about an inch or inch and a half deep with 31 holes in it. Sales management candidates came and went without success until one person whom Renborg believed could fulfill his vision arrived. A merchandising consultant personally recommended the new sales manager. It was at this time of high hopes for sales that Renborg adopted the Nutrilite brand name, replacing the old title, California Vitamins. Along with adoption of a fresh company name and a corporate charter, the new sales manager recommended that Renborg undertake a makeover and secure money for a major expansion. He convinced Renborg's current investor, Calcote, to make an infusion of $35,000 in today's currency. Nutrilite moved to spacious new quarters in Los Angeles, and the product line included 10 other branded goods, among them a laxative and 2 skin creams. However, the biography reports one sour note. Renborg was not quite current on rent he owed on the former facility, and he left, quote, on short notice. He did not even notify his one part-time local worker. The new sales manager, whom Calcote funded with thousands of dollars, lasted less than 6 months. He was plotting a takeover, which emulated the enterprise's dodgy but profitable marketing potential. Constructed of speculative but scientific-sounding justifications, extraordinary medical claims, unfounded and later determined also to be illegal, exorbitant pricing, and a concocted history of exotic research, Renborg's Nutrilite operation attracted a certain type of person. Its provocative, if untrue, marketing lures overshadowed the negative factors of unproven value, primitive facilities, and meager revenue. The ejection of the new sales manager led to reverting the newly formed Nutrilite Corporation to only a legal partnership status with his financial backer. Soon, Renborg's only partner, Calcote, was the sole associate in Renborg's business and its only financial backer. A short while later, after his wife's departure and the discovery of the sales manager takeover plot, Renborg and Calcote, quote, drifted into a relationship. During this time, Renborg sued to gain custody of his son. With his divorce finalized, Renborg and Calcote married in Las Vegas, purchased a 3.6-acre alfalfa farm, and enrolled his son into a private boarding school. An accidental fire destroyed the company's inventory and laboratory equipment. Renborg had not purchased fire insurance, but with Calcote's resources, production was fully and quickly restored. The position of sales leader remained open. Shortly after the fire and restoration, and less than 2 years after the wedding, the marriage between the business partners came apart. With the divorce, Nutrilite's financial backing also ended. Renborg and his son moved into a single room near the plant, and Calcote returned to real estate investing. Apart from references to her in the Renborg biography, no other entries are to be found in a current Google search for Leila H. Calcote. In 1945, 1 year after dissolution of Renborg's third marriage and loss of financial support, The bleak status of Neutralite was clear. 33 years since his ill-fated quest for gold in Alaska, and a quarter century after his failed mission to bring canned milk to lactose-intolerant China, Renborg, now 60, was far from fulfilling his latest dream of selling vitamins to Americans on a scale grand enough to make him rich and famous. Yet, Renborg's quest would soon take him to a new business he could not even imagine. It had not yet been invented. Greater than anything he'd attempted before, this new business would claim to be, quote, the greatest income opportunity in the world. Pseudo-truth.